I'm Dr. Angie Stamm.
And I'm Kayla McGuire.
And this is Integrative Connections, a wellness community for pets and people. Welcome to Integrative Connections podcast. I'm Dr. Angie Stamm, and today we are welcoming James McConkey from Haight Street Mushrooms Shop in San Francisco. Thanks for being here, James.
Thank you. What a pleasure to be here. And it is the Haight Street Shroom Shop.
Haight Street
Shroom Shop.
Mushrooms.
If you say it 3 times fast, I appear like a mushroom.
So you are the founder of
Yeah.
this. And tell me a little bit about your background and how that came to be.
Yeah. The Shroom Shop, or where I'm sitting, it's a physical workshop space here in San Francisco dedicated to education for mycology, for beginner mycology, also small business development, advocacy, working within decriminalization movements across the country. And it's also got a gallery and a laboratory. It's a place to engage in all activities around fungi. That's what the shop is. I myself, I'm a former tech employee. I worked in the tech sector here in San Francisco in the Bay Area for many years. Then my wife was diagnosed with stage 2B breast cancer. And that was where my crossover and introduction into the world of fungi was the starting point. She has been in remission now for over 8 years. And my obsession with fungi and learning about them stemmed from that. And then naturally, psilocybin was becoming a very prominent topic back in, late 2017 through 2019, right before the pandemic. And while we were going through our treatment in 2016, 2017, that's when Johns Hopkins was doing its trials in psilocybin research. And that's where I started stemming and learning about, oh, wow, this is another interesting mushroom that's helping a lot of people in different, psychological, psychiatric, and mental, physical states. And I started researching all that. Then Michael Pollan wrote his book, and all of these different interesting things. Decriminalization occurred in 2019 in Denver, Colorado for psilocybin-containing mushrooms. And then that expanded all the way through 2022. And I've just been sitting in this space trying to help people learn, educate, and get involved in interesting projects revolving around, psilocybin-containing fungi.
Great. And you work with non-psychoactive mushrooms as well. Do you work with other medicinal mushrooms as well?
Yeah, I like to classify mushrooms into kind of like 3 different like edible categories, right? When we stay outside of like bacterial molds, slime molds, and some of the more interesting varietals of mushrooms or sub species, there's gourmet mushrooms, so mushrooms that taste good. There's medicinal mushrooms that are good for your body. And then there's therapeutic mushrooms. And therapeutic really kind of comes to maybe where it's like working internally in systems in your mind or your body or things like that. When you look at those 3 categories, there's such a huge broad base. And the fascinating fact is most mushrooms will touch one of them or 2 of them, right? So like a mushroom like lion's mane can be all 3. It can be gourmet. It's also a medicinal mushroom. It has a lot of medicinal properties. And then it also has therapeutic mental properties where helping regenerate the myelal sheath of your neurotransmitters, right? So this is a neurotropic mushroom, similar to psilocybin, right? So if you think about that, it's fascinating because the mushrooms that we consume as humans are so broad, and the opportunity to help them be a part of your personal protocols is really, really huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually was introduced to you through Dr. Rob Silver, who's also a veterinarian, who's heading up a project with you called the Canine Microdosing Project. So we have a lot of pet owner or pet parent listeners, and I guess one of my main goals for interviewing you today would be to learn more about that and get that information out there so that more people can take advantage of that for their animals. So can you tell us how kind of a little bit of background about the Canine Microdose Project, how that came about?
Sure, sure. So I've been involved in the greater mushroom industry, working with different companies as adjunct or somebody that they bring along that works in the retail mushroom space and helps people build protocols and microdosing within microdosing and things like that. Um, and so through a really close friend, I was introduced to Rob back in like psychedelic science back in 2023. And I prior to meeting Dr. Silver, Doc Rob, um, I had tried to work with a researcher out of UCLA on developing an open source study for human microdosing. However, once we got to the IRB process within his academic institution, it sort of like fell apart because the academic advisors, the doctors that run the IRB to accept the study, they wanted it to be something different than how we were imagining creating a data pool, right? Data is the important aspect of this. Shout out to some of the nonprofit organizations out there that have done this, right? They have created, open source studies, but there's always variables that exist within any of the study methodology. So, double-blind placebo studies are the standard for any type of human-consumed medication or anything that goes through the FDA. And one of the things that has happened over the past couple of years is the major realization by the greater academic and medical community that double-blind placebo studies sort of don't really work when we're studying psychedelics. That's because the individual taking the placebo or taking the psychedelic, they clearly know. And so, with that, that's sort of muddied the waters when it goes back and forth. So you'll see the sensationalization of research revolving going back and forth of like this works, no, this doesn't work. And one of the things that I had wagered over time because I had been following holistic health within veterinary care, I noticed that mushrooms were becoming a much bigger supplementation, and I thought in my mind, well, wait a minute, you know, um, if a canine or an animal takes psilocybin the right amount, and maybe it's for aggression or anxiety or some other psychological disorder that is associated with behavior, and then there's a difference, then this double-blind placebo methodology that's used in the human studies doesn't really need to hold any weight because the pet parents will see clear differences. So that was the starting point of this, and through my friend, I got to meet Doc Rob, and I brought this theory to him, and he looked at me and said, "Yeah, I think there's something there. We should give it a go." And so for about a year, we've been really kind of dialing in, trying to create protocols based on canines' health, their condition, their weight, all these things, so that we can start studying this to get to what we call an effective dosing regimen based on dog's weight and different application.
And you're not treating cats at this time, just dogs.
No, no cats at this time, just dogs, just canines. However, the potential is there too, and I will give that thing. If you look up, psilocybin for cats, more than likely you're going to find again more of a scare thing, saying that, oh my God. But this is the aspect, right? Like understanding application for our pets is much broadly different than it is for human consumption. So the scales and things and dosing regimens that exist for humans, while there might be some correlation within the time schedules, the dosing schedule is really, really different. So, be wary out there. Like, I don't recommend everybody just immediately go start dosing, their pet friends with psilocybin containing mushrooms, because the actual potency of the mushroom, the tryptamine profile of the mushroom, it's something that needs to be very accounted for before we start just thinking that it's going to be, and that's what we're initially testing here. So we've picked a very specific varietal of psilocybin containing mushroom that hits on the lower end of the spectrum. We don't expect to have any adverse effects. However, if the wrong psilocybin containing mushroom was consumed by an animal, there could be adverse effects. So please, friends, be wary, if you or become a citizen scientist at any point.
Gotcha. And then what about horses? Do you think there's application for horses?
100%. In fact, one of the studies that Rob worked on a few years ago was revolving around cordyceps and cordycepin, which is a vasodilating mushroom. It also has a whole set of health benefits within the different alpha-beta glucans and polysaccharides that are contained in that mushroom. And the pieces that stuck with me when listening to him talk about it, but basically overall health, coat health. So the coat of and this is with a broad spectrum of older horses, the longevity of their life, all these things increase pretty drastically. I think in some cases upwards of 60%. And so it's clear that this should be something that's supplemented for
Geriatric
yeah,
species.
especially
Human
so. And
was
that's not a psilocybin containing mushroom. And again, guess what? One of the most I love this when it comes to pets and animals, because what do people test on? They test on animals.
right.
One of the most recent studies shows a 60% increase in longevity in mice from consuming journey dose level psilocybin one time and then titrating off on a lower dose for
I saw
3 weeks
that just
after.
came out. That study just came out, right?
Yes, it's
In
very
July.
recent.
Yeah.
And so right there, friends and family, like if you ever took psilocybin in your life, you've already potentially increased your longevity. So good on you, all those like psychonauts back in the Grateful Dead days, like up here on Haight Ashbury, and good on you for the people now that are falling into this mindset of microdosing, right? Because I truly believe that microdosing all mushrooms, that if you can, take certain compounds, put them in their body, get your body attuned to, and your biome attuned to breaking them down, then the overall health benefits over time become compounding to a point. And all you have to do is, take one little pill like every day in the morning with, your protein shake. Yeah,
Right.
I think we should all be taking mushrooms more actively as much as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. We use in our practice, we use a lot of the Real Mushrooms brand that Rob Silver um, helps consult with, and we know that the quality is good. And I think that there's I'm kind of curious to know what your thoughts are on synergies between the psilocybin containing mushrooms and then the non-psilocybin containing mushrooms.
Well, I'm a firm believer in kind of creating equanimity within kind of like personal, like setting, protocol, routine, habits, whatever the word you want to use for yourself as you navigate through, the types of compounds, medicines, food, right? Really, a lot of this all comes down to food, right? Um, but in a synergistic way, I am a firm believer of like knowing the source of your mushrooms or knowing the source of your food, right? Obviously, if you know the person that's creating it and know that they're actively involved in that process, then I believe that that synergy or that intention, that positive energy, it translates down to the actual thing that you're consuming. Uh, but that doesn't mean that there aren't great products out there that are being, mass produced and things like that. Like you mentioned, Real Mushrooms, they do a great job with like certifying the quality and paying attention to the places that they're sourcing their mushrooms from. And frankly, in America, small farmers like myself that are independently growing their own lion's mane and growing their therapeutic mushrooms and whatever mushrooms like people are asking me to grow with it outside of what I go and collect in the forest. Um, there's not a huge amount of us. There is some. You probably have a local mushroom grower right by you, friends, and you can go buy fresh shiitakes and dry them out in your dehydrator and grind them down into powder and put them into pills. Like it's not a we kind of break it down. We lose the ease of it because sometimes we only think of it as food. But yellow oyster mushrooms for ergothioneine, shiitake mushrooms for their vitamin D and the calcium and all these other great things. Their anti-tumor, their anti-cancer properties. Reishi mushrooms, like you can just pick 3 or 4, and even if you start taking a little bit of these mushrooms and putting them into your pet's food, especially if you give them, good organic, healthy food, it's just going to mix right in. It's going to be an umami. They'll eat it,
Yeah,
and they
absolutely.
will benefit from it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So what species of psilocybin mushrooms are you using for the Canine Microdose project?
We're using a very classic one, so most people know it. It's called the Golden Teacher, um,
Mhm.
and it's known as for its tryptamine profile to be more within like a headspace. So at very high dosing, there's with any psilocybin-containing mushroom, the visual hallucinatory effects are going to be prevalent. However, the other tryptamines and the other alkaloids that are in the mushroom, they also ascertain to a lot of the other types of body effects that occur from consuming psilocybin-containing mushrooms. So the golden teachers are known for a less like of a body like load, as we say, and we think that that in of itself makes it a much more easy entry point. And we're not gonna see any adverse kind of like physical effects because those physical effects within human consumption are kind of like like feeling kind of like heavy or like stomach upsetness or like heaviness in your muscles and things like that from like the cortisol punch that occurs from some of these like very potent psilocybin containing mushrooms. So we think that one, the other candidate was also the B plus, the B positive psilocybin containing mushroom. And these one of the other reasons that we've chosen these is these are some of the most cultivated varietals out there. So in essence, we also think that the potential for people to maybe grow it for themselves is always there as well.
Gotcha. But you're cultivating your own product for this project.
100%. Yeah, I'm in a decriminalized zone.
Okay.
Uh, and, like when it comes to legality of these things, where you are is important. However, for personal consumption and religious freedom and things like that, there's a lot of like different modalities and platforms that can be put forward for individuals to be able to acquire it or, figure out how to get it. But yes, we grow here because we're in a decrim zone. So for personal consumption and sharing, I am allowed to share psilocybin here through the work that I do,
Gotcha.
through the patients that are a part of the collective that I have. So I have a collective here that people join, and it's a framework that allows them to feel safe and allows me to make sure that all the different I's are dotted and T's are crossed, from a provisionary standpoint.
Gotcha. So if a pet parent wanted to enroll in the Canine Microdose project, they go to the website, which is caninemicrodoseproject.com, I believe, right?
Caninimicrodose.com.
Caninemicrodose.com. And then there's like a questionnaire that they fill out.
Yeah, it's a three-step process. So the first step is go either contact us or get once you contact us, we'll send you to our intake, and the intake is and you can sign up for the intake right away. But once we get your basic information, then Doc Rob will reach out and have a meeting with you to assess whether or not you and your pet or your pet is a potential candidate for the study. We have a broad spectrum, so I wouldn't say don't sign up and try and meet out. We between Doc Rob's like professional work for and his travel schedule for his book and things like that. We have as much time as we can to make for this. So be patient with us, friends, and reach out. But you can always contact me. And that's James at caninemicrodose.com. And we can get you started. We are partnered with the University of Pennsylvania using their metrics system through the CBARC survey, which is a behavioral survey that's used for the study of animals, particular canines. So the data will be correlated and shared with UPenn, and they'll help us go through the analysis once we start collecting it. And your pet can maintain and be in the study as long as they want.
Wow. So there's no end, there's no set time frame. You
Yeah,
can do.
we have an initial setup for the meeting and follow-up, but once the follow-up is done, if you want to stay in the study, we're glad that we believe collecting further data is totally part of it.
That's awesome. And it's there's no cost to the pet parent.
There is a cost to join the collective and for shipping,
Okay.
and you know once we meet, we can discuss that, and it is sliding scale, so it's pretty affordable.
Okay. That's great. And so basically it's legal because you're joining the pet parents will join your collective and therefore becomes legalized.
Yeah, through consultationary work. So basically, they will have a consultation with me, and when they join my collective, then I'm allowed to share with them whatever material that that they need, and we'll make sure that it falls in line with their expectations and things like that, and then they meet with me to have a consultation to make sure that all safety protocols and things like that, harm reduction, are understood.
Right.
Then we'll figure out a provisionary schedule and make sure that they are able to be a part of the study.
Love it. And I guess how many dogs do you have currently that you're working with?
We have over 10. We're I think and that 10 is the starting point where we are right now. I haven't gotten everybody aligned together yet, so we're still accepting applications. And I think there will be a cutoff period at some point, just from a bandwidth perspective, to make sure that we can get this first set going. And once we get you going, like I said, we'd be more than happy to continue helping you guys and your canine friends.
Right. And what are the typical conditions that indications that most people are looking to treat?
Anxiety, depression. It's surprisingly, it's the same list.
Same as humans.
When we talk about it, it's different, right? So rescue dogs that have gone through trauma, have anxiety issues, loud noises. My dog is sleeping behind me over here. She's actually a part of it because she has a 5 to 7% aggression rate towards other dogs randomly.
Five
And
to
but I'm
got
always,
that dialed down.
yeah, right. Like, and so she's, I usually, when I'm not in my meeting, the door is open. It's a sunny day out there, and she sits out there on leash, on a lead, and she doesn't like skateboards. So very common things. And my hope is that with I've already seen some help on our initial tests, but like I said, we've been dialing it in for a year, and we think we have the number. So once I get everybody started, we'll be collecting the data from her too. And please don't feel that your dog's condition isn't something, because pain issues, nerve issues, there's a lot of applications that exist. So feel free to reach out, because once Doc, Rob, and I collect data of people and what the conditions that they want to work with, then it gives us more information to help form the study as it expands. Because we think there's further expansion of this, not just
So the
looking at,
initial,
yeah,
so you're saying like the initial cohort is sort of the traditional behavioral type cases, but there could be branching out into like pain management or cancer or et cetera.
100%, 100%, right? Like, and especially, if your dog is going through like heavy level Western treatment for cancer, I would think that, the right dose of psilocybin containing mushrooms just to help their overall mood would probably be a good thing. Right.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of potential, but again, this all needs to be studied. So
Right.
that's, and we gotta, when we're self-funding and kind of self-operating, right? Hopefully we'll get some sort of sponsorship eventually, but right now, this is really um, a passion project of Rob and I's to try and see if we can help be of service with other fungi that we are passionate about for our canine friends.
I love that. That's great. And then from the human perspective, human side, if there are humans who want, personal support around psilocybin microdosing, they can also come to you and get help through the collective.
Yeah, it's the same format, right? The collective aspect is us kind of going through normal disclaimer documentation. And similar, like here in San Francisco, there's a lot of churches that exist, right, that use religious freedom uh, as a foundation. I like to think of it more of like a community-based educational system, rather than it being a church where you're getting sacrament, whereas what we're gaining and collecting here within this space is knowledge. And then when we build that together, then we can create safety systems that everybody can, you know, partake in.
Great. That's great. And circling back to the dogs that you've been working with, have there been any adverse effects so far?
No, not yet. I mean, I think it was, if it was our situation that which we started, where you had a dog that was in a potential euthanasia situation, euthanized.
Yeah.
We wanted to see if it would help with the aggression, and
Yeah.
that's the only non-situation that we haven't, that we, was a emergency that we would have liked to try. And so,
Sure.
if things like this occur, then, from a compassion care aspect is really what it comes down to. Psilocybin is being used in hospice care for humans, and a lot. And I think there's, when we look at the way that we treat our canine and feline friends, the 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 level of care that we're trying to compare to, the potential for simple things like this that are cost effective. It seems like common sense, not necessarily rocket science, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
No,
we'll
it's
put science behind it, I promise.
well, you got to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere for sure. So, well, good for you guys. I'm super excited about your project, and I look forward to possibly giving you some case referrals, and we'll,
Please.
we'll love to track the progress and check in with you in the future and see how things are going.
Yeah, and friends, if you're in the Greater Bay Area or in San Francisco, feel free to reach out. I am an appointment only space. I like to have conversations like I'm having with you right now. We're one on one and trying to help people figure out how fungi is a part of their life. And I know all the local purveyors, growers. Golden Gate Park is a block away from here. I love going and showing people where to find mushrooms and how to look for mushrooms. There's so much potential for fungi to be a greater part of our lives, and I feel super blessed to be in such a great place where I can share with people on something that I really care about.
Yeah, well, we're lucky to have you and Dr. Rob as resources too. So thank you for sharing your time with us today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, have a great, wonderful day.
You too. Thanks, James.